Howdy, folks. Brian Kusko here at Redline Report. And just a reminder that Redline Report is brought to you by Redline Shipping. Link down in the description. Use the service. It's the best service out there. Yeah. And today we've got Dennis McNamara. Dennis McNamara has been a friend of the channel for a long time, and just a friend in general. Great guy in the hobby. We're going to share his favorite snakes here today on the channel. Get to have some animals on the channel, which is something we don't do super often anymore. So stoked to have some animals on this channel. And bring you a great talk from a guy who's very knowledgeable of the ways of this industry and hobby. So you're watching Redline Report. Dude, so when was the first time? It was Daytona was the first time we met.
I believe so, yes.
And then I just really loved your vibe and your energy and the stories that you bring. And then the moment with you and Craig.
Oh, yeah.
Was super cool. Just hearing that story, that love of the hobby, and that is what ties together. And all your friends here, and just that, not the industry at all, but just like the love of the hobby of like that story of how Craig gave you those snakes, and then how that is, I love that.
Yeah, no, it was, and it is amazing of what that builds into. I'm in a group where I text with him every day, or what, and he's 75 and I'm 49. But it's like you would probably never be in the same path or the same thing, and it brings people of all kinds of things together, So no, it's good. It's again, I think most good things in my life, most of my good friends have come from this industry, hobby, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I can't say much bad about it.
That's good.
Yeah.
What has changed since the last time we sat down and talked on a video?
When did we talk? We probably talked here. No, we talked, but I don't know. I feel like it was here a couple years ago.
There was definitely Daytona. There was a moment there.
Oh no, you did. Yeah.
I did a short thing where I came and asked you like how much an animal is selling for.
Yes.
And that was at Daytona.
No, you did do a thing in Daytona. So
yeah.
See, I forget. See,
that was so quick though. It wasn't one of the. We didn't have an extended conversation.
Yeah.
I know that you're getting your podcast stuff going. I mean, you hit me up for like.
Yeah, I figured because I like to do these things, and so I wanted to be at least decent at it. I don't know. I've listened to a couple of podcasts where you can't hear the person, and I was like, I don't want to be that guy. So I put a little bit of money into something, not a lot, but just to make it so that way if I do them, hopefully it'll sound good. So
it's important with the podcast.
Yeah. I'd probably do 3 or 4 a year, depending on who asked me to do whatever. But I like doing them. I would enjoy doing them, so I'd be okay with doing more. Or now I have things that I could do more. And shoot, it's one of those things. Once you have it, like it was like a new toy. I was like, let me set this thing up, and I almost want to make calls with my friends and talk on the thing. I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah. So
something different.
My next question is, I know that you got it, like you said, so that you can like have good audio and good stuff like that when you're a guest on other people's podcasts.
Right.
I feel like a good podcast for you would be like what you just said, like calling up friends and just talking on it,
right?
Because it's cool, and then just like the stories that you guys have based that you're in the industry. I don't know. What have you thought about that at all? Starting your own thing?
I actually have not thought about that. My wife has told me that I need to do something, and I've talked to you about it before about what should I do. And I like the idea. Like I like Bash Coder Craig. Like I like the sitting down, kind of like how you do it, where you just sit down there and just talk. And I like that idea of just finding. But I don't know. I don't know that I would ramble so much on my own. I feel like it'd be better if I did have somebody else. But I wouldn't mind going over because I do a lot of things with species that aren't ball python. I mean, I have ball pythons, but I have a lot of experience in species with other things that I could really talk about that maybe isn't everything that you see every day. So I feel like there's part of me that would really like to do some stuff like that, and I think it would be fun and informative, and also could help. Like if I sell this, like I have an article I wrote about olive python. So if I sell an olive python, I'll be like, hey, here's a link to this. And I started writing something about Macklots, which is similar, but I haven't ever finished it. I'm like, if I had a video or I had whatever else, I could be like, hey, just watch this or listen to this, which I have some of those. So I've sent some of those up, but some of these podcasts are 3 hours long. Like, 10 minutes might be better, or 15 minutes. But,
sure.
Yeah, so.
That's what I try to do. Well, speaking of the Macklots, you want to pull that sucker out of there? And
sure.
Now, I know that Macklots are kind of special for you, and they're like one of your favorite snakes, yes?
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
And that's why, right there.
Yeah. Inconsequential. But, they're like that when they're little, and they can be like that when they're big, but they do tend to calm down, but they are also not the same as everything else. And, when you come in the room, if they can see you, they look at you, they, I would say there's a lot going on up here, but, they just want to kind of hold on and see things around and, look at all that speckling and iridescence and whatever else. I don't know, how could you not like it? Plus it is, I think I told you this in the thing in Daytona, but, the amount of people that come up and talk to these stop people and the conversations that you start because of these snakes, which is kind of the whole point you're here, is incredible, and way more than any ball python I've ever had on the table, way more than anything else. So this seems to be like the nostalgic species for a lot of people that have been in the hobby for a long time, because they were around before and they were cheap and they didn't sell that way. Actually, they just sold for cheap. And then, I don't know, the mom to this one has produced 9 clutches for me. So, they've made it so I've sent a lot of these things out to other people and made it so people come by, and there's a pretty good demand for them, and I don't really advertise them, and I sell 20 or 30 of them a year or something like that, So, they're not crazy expensive, but they're cool and different, and you can see, it bit me, but I'm not even bleeding. It's not even, it's fairly inconsequential. Now, if it was an adult, it'd be more annoying, but yeah, it's not of any worry.
Yeah, and then
you can see now,
it's a baby. It's going to be a little defensive.
Yeah, and you can see now it doesn't really care.
Yeah, and I think something that I've learned too from folks and from just personal experience over the years is that with snakes, when they do bite you, is that you don't really care.
Right.
Yeah. And especially when it's this size, there's not really much of a reason to care.
Well, I try to tell people, and people are always weird when I say this, I'm like, I want you to sit down so you're not thinking about anything, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to handle it. Because if you don't see it do it, sometimes you don't really react the same way. And if you just go on your feeling and your touch, and you're not worried about where you're walking or standing or whatever else, and you just sit down and just kind of let the thing move, you're going to be way better off in the long run. And the snake will be more comfortable too.
That's cool. I've never heard that advice. I like that.
Because if you think, I do it, I don't know, it happened to me and my wife not long ago where she was talking to me and she's like, are you going to sleep? And I'm like, no, there's other noise. I just close my eyes so I can make sure I'm focusing on listening to you. Maybe I have some weird quirk of that, but it makes it so I feel like I can concentrate on something better if I make sure that sense is the thing I'm paying attention to.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, that's how blind or deaf folks, all the other senses get heightened because the brain's not spending time focusing on seeing or hearing, right?
Right, and how could you not think this is cool? I don't know. To me, it's just, I don't know, that might be my favorites. I used to always say olive pythons are my favorite, but I have more of these than I have olive pythons, but they're also not as big. But I really do like them. Plus, they get a manageable size, and they're active, and they,
If somebody was thinking about getting their first Macklots python, or actually even just their first snake, and it was going to be a Macklots python, what's the advice?
Well, first snake Macklot, that'd be an interesting first snake, because I feel like you'd have to make sure that you're okay with, them being bold and letting you know that they're not comfortable at first. These things are durable, so I'd say as far as snakes go, they're pretty forgiving. You have to do correct parameters as far as temperature and making sure they have water and make sure they have somewhere. They don't really hide very much. They eat frozen thawed food from the moment they shed and are born. And look at it now. Now it doesn't care that you're doing whatever around it. It's they can tame down very well and be very calm, very easy to deal with, and there's not a whole lot of things I could say that would not, other than getting over the fact that they might be a little reactive when you first pull them out. So there's a lot of things about them that make it so it's no live food, durability. They're not really bothered by a lot of things. So they're not that shy. So I don't know. They're kind of the perfect pet snake if you like this kind of snake.
Nice. I like it.
But you have to be able to handle it. You have to be able to realize you can deal with it.
Right. Now you mentioned the temperature thing, and I feel like it's one of the most important things about keeping an ectothermic creature. What are the specific temperature guidelines?
So I keep, and I've kept them differently, but my room is like 78 to 82, and then I have a basking spot of 86. I've had it, like, they'll be in the same room when I cool the adults, and I don't really do it as much now, but I've gotten down to upper 60s with them at night and then warm them up during the day, and they don't really seem to care about that. I've had, knock on wood, I've never had a respiratory infection or anything, and I've had them for, I don't know, 15 plus years of my life I've had them. So, yeah, so there's not a whole lot of things that they seem to just be, they seem to be durable about a lot of that kind of stuff and forgiving. Again, I think if you were to have them too dry or too, and I don't even know that you need to worry so much about humidity other than just making sure that they have water available. But, they do well. They do well, and they're definitely not the same. They're not, it's not like the ball python you sit on the table. It's going to stay there all day. They're going to move. They're going to do whatever else. But if you want something a little more interactive and a little bit more just different, then they're a good option.
Awesome.
The hustle and bustle of this thing is crazy. I've never been up here for this long. It's like
yeah, things are happening.
Wow.
It's getting heated out there.
It's like I'm on the streets of New York sitting in this thing.
It is boisterous. Awesome, Dennis. Well, how's everything going with the zoo? Work? Family?
Everything's good. And I have, life is busy. Between zoo work and family, and we do cheerleading and baseball and football and whatever else, and it's good. I think it keeps you busy and keeps you, we don't really get much downtime, but I think that's all right. And there's always some experience happening and never a dull moment. I think, my kids sometimes would be like, I'm bored, and I'm like, how are you bored with all the things that are going on? And I'm like, I don't think the boredom's a thing I've experienced in a long time. And I'm very lucky to have a job that I don't ever have a day that I don't want to go. And, and oddly enough, I still want to go home and look at my snakes and do whatever else. And, so I'm in a good spot.
That's awesome.
No
man.
complaints.
Glad to hear that.
And my son loves all this stuff. So my daughter, not so much, but my son thinks it's all the greatest thing ever. So it's nice to have that.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. Well, anything you want to share before we wrap up here?
This is going to air after this, but I don't know. Come see us at one of these shows and come chat about these snakes or anything that's different or whatever's on the table. We brought, 9 different species of snakes to this show. So typically we always, like my friend Scott and I come and, everybody always says they're all ball python shows. Well, you can come to us. We have ball pythons, but there's a lot of other things, and we don't mind chatting with you and teaching you something and maybe making you realize there's something out there other than the norm.
What shows are you planning to be at this year?
So Bob's show in Atlanta, Daytona, and this one, and then I would love to do Troy and Nick's show. I just have to figure that out. I don't know that I could fit another one in as far as life goes, but
we'll see you there for dinner, at least in Denver, hopefully, yeah?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I like those guys, and I would love to support them, so I would love to figure out a way to do one of those shows with them.
Awesome. Awesome, Dennis. Well, hey, thanks for taking time away from your table again.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It's always good to see you.
Yeah, you too, bro. I love that we have an animal, too. It's more rare that we have animals.
I thought that was kind of part of your...
It was definitely a big part of the prerequisite. Like, you had to be... I kind of got away from that.
And it doesn't happen as much anymore?
The animals, yeah, it's more hearing the story of the people that are coming on and how they got into the hobby and whatnot, but I do want to make a point of making sure we keep bringing animals on, too, so thank you for bringing that over.
No problem. Keeps it exciting. Gives you something else to look at.
Yeah.
Makes you think about whatever you're talking about, too.
Right. Cool, man.
All right.
Thanks,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Big thank you to Dennis for coming on. Please check the link in the description to find things that he's working on. And if you want a Maclots python, he's obviously the guy to go to. And then if you are going to any of those future shows, go check out his table and go talk to him. Great guy to talk to, great guy to know. Wonderful person, really knows his stuff. All those things. So thanks again, Dennis, for coming on. And thank you guys for watching. Next week, we'll have another interview right here on the Redline Report. And until then, y'all take care.